When you study the Bible, you will discover that Jesus is God. And the Bible calls that Jesus is God in the flesh. What a privilege that very God came to be with us in the flesh. If there's something you must conclude in your heart, is the divinity and the deity of Jesus. Never ever compare Jesus with any man or any creation. He is very God. In the Old Testament, he was there. He was not born 2,000 years ago. He created the universe. Isaiah 41 verse 4. We make that reference to God, and we are saying that God said, I am the Lord, I am the first, and I'm the last. Isaiah 41 verse 4. Who had wrought and done it, calling the generations from the beginning. I, the Lord, the first, and with the last, I am He. He said, I am the Lord, I am the first, I am the last. He said, I am the Lord, I am the first, and I'm the last. He repeated it several times in the Old Testament. Isaiah 44, the verse number 6. Thus saith the Lord, the King of Israel, his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. I am the first, and I am the last. And beside me there is no, talk to me. Beside me there is no. So who is talking here? Okay. I know you have the revelation. Yes. Who is talking here? God. All right. I just want to tell you that the God you serve is called Jesus. He said, beside me there is no God. But he decides to identify himself by saying, I am the first and I am the last. Isaiah 48 verse 12. Thank you, Jesus. Hearken unto me, O Jacob. O Israel, my called one. I am he. Say, I am he. Wow, what audacity. Say, I am he. I am the first and I am also the last. So when you read this, we try to just think that, it's just the Papa God, the big one, but Jesus was the junior God. Jesus was the one talking here. When he died and he resurrected, he came to John, his best friend. And the first thing he told John in identifying himself was that he said, me, I am the first, I'm the last. Revelations 1 verse 8. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Your Jesus, he's the first, he's the last. He's the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end, the author and the finisher. He said, this is Jesus talking. He said, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. Jesus says, I am called the Almighty. I, John, was also, I'm your brother and companion in tribulation and in the kingdom and patience of Jesus. Next verse. I was in the spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet, saying, I am the Alpha, the first and the last. Can you imagine? Within 3 verses, he has identified himself again that I am the first, I'm the last, I'm the Alpha and the Omega. What thou seest, write in a book and send it unto the 7 churches which are in Asia: Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. By verse 17, look at what he's going to say again. It's as if he wants to imprint into the mind of the guy that me, I am the first, I'm the last. He said, and when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, fear not, I am the first and I'm the last. Hallelujah. But so that we know who he was talking to, go back to verse 12. Verse 12. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. And I turned to see the voice that spoke with me. And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks was one like unto the Son of Man. So it's the Son of Man talking here. Clothed with a garment down to the foot and get about the path with a golden girdle. His head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow. His eyes were as a flame of fire. And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burn in a furnace. And his voice as the sound of many waters. And he had in his right hand 7 stars. And out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword. And his countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength. Next verse. And he says, when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying, fear not, I am the first and the last. Next verse. I am he that liveth, and was dead, and behold, I'm alive forevermore. He wanted to make sure that the guy is not confused. He said that I was the one who used to walk through the streets of Galilee. I was the one they crucified. I was the one who resurrected. But now, the good news is that I am alive forevermore. Never to die again. This is Jesus. And he is the first. He is the last. The good news is that when he is the first and the last, it means your case is not concluded except he concludes it. I want to repeat it. If your Jesus is the first and the last, the doctors can close your case. The lawyers can close your case. But till the last closes your case, the case is not closed. One day Peter was arrested. And Peter was ordained to die. And in the mind of everyone, it was over for Peter. But the last has not concluded it. And till the last concludes the matter, it's not over. When they thought it was over for Peter, that was the beginning of Peter's ministry. One day, they buried a certain man called Lazarus in a tomb. And even his siblings said that, behold, now he stinketh. Let's leave him alone. But the last has not said it is the last day of Lazarus. When the last has not concluded your destiny, it does not matter what men said and what you are going through. You never give up on God. I say you never give up on God. Because he is the first and the last, the protos and the eschatos, the beginning and the end. Your destiny is sandwiched between the Alpha and the Omega, the Aleph and the Taf. Men can try. People can try to determine how your end will be, but they don't know your end. They can look at your beginning and say that this guy, I don't think he is going anywhere. This lady will not amount to anything. But men don't have the final say. He is the commencement and the conclusion. And he said, fear not, because I am the first and the last. One of the easiest ways to take fear out of your life is when you discover that he's the first and the last. Go back to verse 17. If you forget that he's the first and the last, you might think that somebody else have determined your destiny. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying, fear not, because I am the first and the last. If you meditate on this verse for 2 days, fear will leave you. Knowing that he is the first, he is the last. Even when men die, it's not over. He can still bring hope out of the situation. This is how he began the book of Revelation. And this is how he ended it also. Revelation 21 verse 6. As if he wanted to imprint in our consciousness that he is the first and the last. And he said unto me, it is done. How will he have the audacity to say it is done? Because he said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that attest of the fountain of the water of life freely. Now go to chapter 22 verse 13. Thank you, Jesus. So he began the book of Revelation by introducing himself, and he concluded by introducing himself. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Who are we talking about? Jesus. I want to talk to especially the young people. When you go to college and anyone tells you that there's another God or Jesus is one of the God, tell the person to the face, it's a liar. If you have to write to pass, write to pass. But never believe the lie of the devil that Jesus is like Muhammad. He is not. He created Muhammad. He created Buddha. He is the first and the last. He is your Jesus. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He has absolute power. And he's our Jesus. The blessedness of the fact that you are a Christian, the day you understand it, you will never be shy of it again. When you know who you are as a believer, you will never bow down your head. You will pray for those who don't know Jesus. Why? Because when you are a Christian, you have God in the flesh. It is called good news, the gospel. It is too good to be true. It's too good to be true. But the truth is that I am the way, the truth, and the life. It's very God, the first and the last. Colossians 1 verse 16. For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in the earth. By him, Jesus, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. Absolute power. Next verse. And he is before all things, the beginning. And by him all things consist. He is Jesus the Christ. Will you lift up your right hand? That Jesus was the Lamb who was slain, who was crucified. He is God and God alone. Can we sing that? Sing that song for me. Sing. Now unto the Lamb.
Christ Palace International Ministries.